everybody. Welcome to a special, and I mean special, episode of the Dattitude podcast live. We're usually here on Fridays. We're here on Wednesday. This morning, Larry's got some other obligations. We're trying to get this week compressed as fast as we can, as much as we can, early part of the week here. Larry Holder of The Athletic, what is going on, sir?
Look, I guess some of y'all get a bye week. I don't in NFL land. So yeah, you're I guess what, taking Friday off? I mean, what are you doing?
Well, I mean, I'm taking Friday off of this job, but I still got my other gig where I'm doing play-by-play. So Shaw Evangel on the West Bank. I'll be in your neck of the woods.
You could stop by, say hello. We could
Play
toast.
tennis.
We could play tennis. I mean, I couldn't play last night. It was too rainy. I couldn't do it. So
let you kick my keister in tennis. That would not be pretty. Speaking of getting keisters kicked, the New Orleans Saints. I mean, what is going on with this team, Larry? As we go into this week, we're gonna give some grades in a little bit. We're gonna be on shorter than usual this morning, by the way. Probably gonna try to hold it to about a half an hour or so. So if you want to get in questions or comments, you can do so by typing it in the comment stream. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, we'll show it here on the screen. Larry, it's been a weird year for these Saints. They just can't seem to get any consistency together. I thought last week, we both had picked the Saints to win last week against the Vikings. We were both wrong. I just don't. It's so hard to predict this team because you don't know what you're going to get from week to week.
I thought it would be that way to some degree, but I didn't think it would be this way this long into the season. And you're wondering after the bye week, how healthy is Derek Carr? Does that even matter? I mean, that's part of what you're asking too, because if he's healthy, he's been inconsistent at times, even though, look, in weeks before the last game, look, he was actually metrically wise, he was actually pretty good. Like he'd even though the Bears game wasn't super pretty, obviously they won that one. And look, you're still wondering, all right, can this offense be consistent? And now what you're actually questioning more than you thought you'd be questioning, how viable is the defense given the way it's kind of slipped in the last couple of weeks?
Well, that's the main thing. If you look at the rankings, it seems like this number has gotten higher and higher every week. Being higher when you're talking about rankings is not as a good thing. I mean, we were at 4th just about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It went to 6th, then it went to 7th, and now we're at 10th. And that was just one bad half, really. I mean, the Saints played pretty good in the second half defensively, but it was too late by then, in my opinion. And these numbers continue to go up. They're worse than average against the run. I mean, people want to talk about the offense all they want, but they're 12th. I mean, and really, if you would have gone into the season saying you got a 12th ranked offense, I think most people would have taken that. And they're bitching about Derek Carr. Well, the passing offense is 12th. It's the running offense that's not doing anything. So all the things that people complain about are not the things I think they should be complaining about.
Well, 12th in offense is certainly you could put that in whatever in different contexts because and I've said it on the pod a couple of times probably this season how I hear Dennis Allen harping on 400-yard game performances, and I mean yards don't score you points. I mean you got to get in the end zone, and so I think that's
they are 18th, I believe, in points scored. I believe.
So you are a little below average per se if you're going, or you're below the median, and so that's what gets you. You're 18th in scoring. You're basically middle of the road. Your record's basically middle of the road. I mean that's
a middle of the road team.
That's about as basic as like John Madden could put it. So there you go. I mean that's where it is. But you sometimes against bad teams they score points in bunches, and then against anybody that's a decent team, they have issues. And so that like I want to feel like that the Saints can turn it around. And I don't know how, if it's like, wow, they got to turn it around. It's not like they've been bad all year, but it's not like they've been good all year. So what is the turnaround? I mean, it's putting together more than 2 wins. A 3-game win streak would have been excellent going into this. And yet here we are. All you got to do is look at the odds of the Saints to win the NFC South, and they're still the favorite, I'm assuming, they're still the favorite.
Yeah, they're the favorite down there, minus 120. You see, you got to bet $120 to win 100. I think that one of the reasons why, not just Saints fans, last week was probably, or this whole week, I guess, since Sunday, they've really pissed me off twice this year. And I think it's because
That's it?
Yeah, because I'll tell you, the other ones I saw coming. I guess there are two that I didn't see coming. The Tampa Bay game, I didn't see that at all. I didn't see that coming. And then last week against the Vikings, I should have seen it coming and didn't. So I guess it's the second time this year where I should have seen it coming and didn't, because you're going into a chance to win 3 in a row. This team, I don't know if they're worthy of winning 3 in a row. They go out and lay an egg with a chance to go into the bye week feeling good about themselves, kind of changing the script a little bit, and then they go into the week laying an egg. I should have seen it coming, because that's kind of what they deserve.
Well, being worthy of getting wins and winning is certainly different. So, you look at, I'd probably look at some teams and say, how is their record where it is? I feel like the Chargers would probably be in the same boat as the Saints. You'd probably feel like they're a little bit more worthy of getting wins because they're more talented, but they haven't. Yep. And talk about a team that's
they're going to fire their coach when the season's over, though.
Right. I mean, they were on the verge. I would have thought last year, probably questioning it, but now speaking of, those are two teams in the same boat in terms of expectations. Obviously, one's more talented at quarterback, so they're going the Drew Brees 2014 through 2016 days. But this Saints team isn't as talented at quarterback, and their defense is still the better side of the football. And so, but the Saints are just fortunate they play in a bad division. Meanwhile, the Chargers, they're about to be caught by I think they have been caught by the Raiders, and they're about to be caught by the Broncos. So, talk about, you could be in worse spots. Like the Saints, at least we could talk about where they are and what they're doing. They're at least keeping us interested because they are still, in my mind, the best team in the division. But like you brought up Tampa, and we keep kind of trying to shove them and put them aside. At least like Baker Mayfield, at least he plays well against teams he's supposed to play well against. And the ones he's not, he doesn't. Like, so he lives with the expectation. I feel like with Derek Carr, you don't know if he can play well against the teams he's supposed to, because their schedule, I feel like the Saints schedule that they played, he should be playing better than and the offense should be playing better than what it has.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, everything you said is true. I've dogged on Baker Mayfield, but I mean, you're right. I mean, he's beaten the teams he's supposed to beat. And really, I mean, you can look at Tennessee this past week. It was a what and what game, and they didn't just win, they won big. So, I mean, they probably should have beaten Houston and didn't. That was a fluky kind of ending. But, I mean, look, if they keep playing like this, they're going to finish 8-9, maybe even 9-8, kind of dependent. So, I mean, I dog on the Bucs, but they're doing the best that they could probably do. The Saints are completely underperforming. The Falcons, as bad as they are, I think, are underperforming with a lousy, easy schedule. Panthers are certainly underperforming at 1-8. The Bucs are the only team to me that are playing as well as they should play. So I can dog them all I want, but you're right. They're doing what they're supposed to do.
Here's the thing with Tampa. If they played today, the Saints and the Bucs, I'd take the Bucs. But I would still take the Saints to win a division, which is weird. But still, like I just don't trust. I feel like Tampa has the right pieces to make life a little tougher for the Saints. But you only play them one more time, so that's a good thing. You got Atlanta coming up and in week 12, and that's. Do you have to pick a winner in that game? I almost feel like you should just pick a tie.
We'll do that next week. Dustin is joking completely. By the way, there's breaking news this morning in the NFL. Deshaun Watson is out for the season with a bum shoulder. I said 3 weeks ago on this show, they would find a way to banish Deshaun Watson into oblivion because the Browns are a better team without him. He is a much better quarterback than P.J. Walker overall, but the Browns are a better team without Deshaun Watson being a distraction, and they will prove that the rest of the season. I think, by the way, we're going to get to our NFL picks for the week. I love Cleveland. It's not in my picks now, but it will be. Dustin jokes, deal Carr to Cleveland to finish the season with Winston. First of all, I know you're being funny, but there's no quarterback controversy. We're going to get to that in just a minute. And second of all, the trade deadline passed 15 days ago. So that is 16 days ago, actually. So that is impossible. They cannot do that. And they would not do that. Anyway. All right, let's get to the grades portion because we got about 20 minutes. If you want to leave your comment, Dustin, in all seriousness, I appreciate your comment. I know you're being facetious. So I appreciate it. If you want to leave a comment or a question, please do, and we will show it on the screen. Larry, let's talk. I'm going to start with the defense, actually. The offense is too easy to bash. People will be bashing the defense. I know average Joe Blow Saints fan is going to give the Saints offense an F, which is completely and utterly, incredibly absurd. You can just look at the numbers on your screen. They don't deserve an F. I mean, whatever. But the defense, to me, is disappointing. And they've been super disappointing the last week or so. I'm interested to see what kind of grade you would give this Saints defense.
First off, mock trade. If I were the Browns, I would go get Jacoby Brissett back.
No kidding.
Because he was way better with the Browns last year.
They should have never let him go.
Than Deshaun Watson was last year and this year.
Agreed.
So I would go get him back because Sam Howell's actually playing pretty well with Washington. To me, look, he's basically a rookie quarterback. I'm going off on a tangent, but
no, it's okay. That's what we're doing.
He's definitely someone who's getting it, as opposed to some other rookie quarterbacks or second year, whatever you want to call it. But all right, Saints defense grade. Look, for a lot of games they've been
tough,
good.
Isn't it? It's tough.
It's strange because I don't want to be blinded by what I've seen the last week and a half, let's call it. Game and a half.
Jacksonville, Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to go a B-. I'm not going to go average. I think they're a little above average given how many takeaways they've gotten. I mean, that's stellar. I mean, for sure. But they're not rushing the passer very well. And so
JPP, baby, he's going to save everything. Jason Pierre-Paul's going to save the season.
That guy, golly, I thought he made enough money. He wouldn't have to put himself through this.
Fountain of youth.
Yeah. It just goes to show you how long I've covered the league when I remember when he was like a draft prospect. Now he's 34, 35 years old, but still it's but also goes to show you that they're lacking in pass rush. So I think that's part of the problem. And so when you
Sweet says money contractors are more important than wins.
Well, if you were that's true. I mean,
depends on who you are.
If you're a player, you could go for forever as long as you're getting paid. So what? So, but yeah, I'm going to go B-. I think if I wouldn't have seen them kind of stagnate in a half 2 weeks ago, and then really stagnate in the first half against the Vikings, I probably would have given them a higher grade. Like I said, because of the takeaways, that's a big plus. But you want to see them affect the quarterback a little bit more. And, they have been slipping. If we were doing the first quarter of the season, I probably would have given them much better grade. But overall, I'm going to give them a B-.
It's funny because you just changed my opinion a little bit. I was going to give them a D.
Woo! Sheesh.
But you're right. I'm not putting enough on the early part of the season where they actually kind of carried them in the Tennessee victory. They did. The defense carried them in the Tennessee victory.
Carolina too.
Carolina. So the first 2 games of the season, they certainly carried them. But there have been games where they've laid absolute eggs. And I don't care if you just do it for a first half and then you come back and play better. Last week was horrendous. Josh Dobbs is not a good quarterback. I don't care what anybody says. And he can go out and do whatever he wants. I think he's going to go to Denver this week and prove who he is. So the Saints defense gave up 288 yards in the first half, and I think then he gave up 88 yards in the second half and showed who Josh Dobbs really was. Jacksonville, same kind of game. They locked up Trevor Lawrence in the second half, but the damage had already been done. They're too inconsistent. They're playing way under their capabilities. If I know 10th in the grand scheme of things, it's probably a B- kind of ranking, but this team doesn't deserve that. They shouldn't be 10th in total defense. They should be 5th, 6th, somewhere around there. They got too much talent to be 10th. I agree with you. The takeaways keeps them from being a D. That's the main thing you said that changed my mind. The takeaways keeps them from being a D, but they're nothing more than average in my opinion. they're playing way below their capability. So I give the defense a C.
Yeah, I'd go average if not for the takeaways, because I agree that the expectations are bigger and better, and that given the teams that they've played,
yeah,
I mean they've got to be, that side of the football has got to perform better overall. But yeah, the takeaways to me propels them given the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I think they're slightly above average. If those other 2 weeks didn't exist, the grade would be higher for me.
All right, we're about to get to the offense, and I'm welcoming in comments. I know that I've been snippy at times to comments that I deem not exactly, let's say, intelligent, but lack of a better way to say it. But I promise to be nice. So you can say F or whatever you want to say. You can say A. I'm not going to make fun of you. I promise. You leave a comment if you want, and I'll show it on the screen, and we'll just leave it at that. But let's talk about the offense again. Let's be realistic as well. And before we get to that, Dustin was being funny. He says, on a serious note, play calling coaching continues to be awful with the execution, which keeps the defense in the field. At what point does DA get pressured to make real changes? You know what, Dustin, we're going to get to that because we're going to give the coaching a grade too. That's going to come up after the offense. But that being said, I don't know how you can't say this offense is basically doing what I think going into the season most people kind of expected. I hear what you're saying about Derek Carr, and I know a lot of I understand why people think he's underachieving, but he's basically doing kind of what I think most people thought he would do. I'm interested to hear your grade for offense.
I will go C-. I will go sort of average.
Okay.
Because I look, and that's a good statement with Derek Carr. And you and me have talked about this till we were blue in the face and getting bluer in the face. My ceiling for Derek Carr is the top 12 quarterback. Midpoint of the season, he was, I think, 16th.
Yeah.
And going into week 11 in my metrics that should be published in the next hour or so, I think he's going to be 18th going into week 11, which is he's very similar to Joe Burrow, but the numbers are certainly feel a little different with Joe Burrow, given he was badly hurt, noticeably hurt, and then when he's healthy, he's been much better. So there's definitely context there. So I do, but look, the offensive line played poorly, then bounced back. Run game to me still hasn't been what you want it to be. At times it can be, at times it's not. Quarterback play, he's not. Carr's not playing at his ceiling in terms of hierarchy in the league, and so, like I said, C-. It's what's the difference between a C- and a D+? It's like, can I do a whole lot? Can I do like a D+, C- / because it's basically what they
you got to
are.
pick one. You pick
C-, sure.
Scott Donald and Tyler Baronet. We're going to get to your comments in a minute because they both involve coaching, and we're going to give coaching a grade. We might spend 5 minutes on coaching, so I want to finish up on the offense. Look, I give the offense a C+. I think they're basically kind of what we thought they would be. If you're being realistic, I mean, if you compare them to Drew Brees, then they're a D-. I mean, but stop comparing the offense to the old offense. That offense is gone. It's not coming back. I would give it higher, actually, if it wasn't for the horrendous and insanely poor play calling at times by Pete Carmichael. Sometimes Pete Carmichael does a good job. I'm serious. There are some games that I'm watching, I'm like, okay, that's pretty good. You involved Taysom Hill. You did Alvin Kamara. I thought the right number. I thought you passed the right amount of times. Good play call and good situation. This week is a perfect example. He completely changed the script. It's almost like, again, we're going to do it, so we're not going to do it. Forget the fact that it works. They got away from what works too early. They stunk. A perfect example of why it's a C+ and not a B. And as long as they have this play caller, I don't see them ever getting to B or A. They've got to make a change there. Again, we're going to talk about coaching in a minute, but that's why I can't do it. All right, coaching. I guess we got to go. It's mostly about Dennis Allen. We got some comments here. I'll show them. Scott Donald says, no coaching change at offensive coordinator going into the bye week. No, that's not who this team is. They've told you they're not going to make a change. I think I'd be shocked if they make any coaching changes. They're just not going to do it. Dustin says he agrees with my assessment. Tyler is saying, let's see, since they seem intent on keeping Carmichael for whatever asinine reason, at least turn over the play calling duties to someone else. Too many weapons not to have more offense success than this, though. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think, but they're not. I mean, before we get to the grades, you covered. You don't now, but I mean, you've covered this team and watched them closely for over a decade now, and then you watched them for 40 years. But I'm just saying, as far as a reporter, you've watched this team for almost 2 decades now. I mean, it's not who they are, Larry. They don't make changes like this in the middle of a season.
Well, Dennis Allen doesn't seem to be super impulsive. Maybe Sean Payton would make this change. I mean, that's the difference because Sean Payton has made the change before, and it involved Dennis Allen.
Defense, that's right.
When he fired Rob Ryan going into the bye week and brought Dennis Allen up from his defensive coordinator in waiting position to actually defensive coordinator. But I'm sure Saints fans saw what happened yesterday in Buffalo and are thinking, "What the hell is going on?"
Yeah, Ken Dorsey being fired that'll
Right.
change everything. If they don't have 12 men on the field and that field goal is no good, Buffalo wins the game and they don't fire Ken Dorsey. Why didn't you fire the special teams coach?
Well, look, the offense has certainly not been putting up points on the board enough in Buffalo, and maybe. If you look at one team compared to the other, the Bills have a much better quarterback and no running game.
Yep.
That to me is a fundamental problem. So
I agree.
The Saints don't have as good of a quarterback, and yet they have to run the football to be effective with a quarterback and not necessarily their running back. So that's a bizarre setup in and of itself, but that's what they've made for themselves. And so
they should have hired Joe Brady when they had the chance. I'm being serious. I mean, Joe Brady's now the offensive coordinator at Buffalo. I'm going to find out.
Well, he also was fired in Carolina when they were not very good. And
they also had a coach that was completely inept and proved he can't coach on the NFL level. So that you got to take that with a grain of salt.
Well, maybe Joe Brady can do a better job. Obviously, he's got better weapons to work with in Buffalo, so maybe he can change that thing around. But still, look, that going back to it, maybe look, and it's all part of a coaching grade. Dennis Allen, it seems like he doesn't coach with kind of almost like a fire, and he's not impulsive.
100%. I agree.
And so you look, same timeline actually as the Bills. Ken Dorsey was promoted to offensive coordinator beginning of last year. He got a year and a half, and the offense regressed, and now he got fired. Pete Carmichael had a year and a half as an offensive coordinator. Basically, you could have done the same shift, but look, Joe Brady at least has called plays before, and Ronald Curry hasn't been that full time. But still, it just shows you the different styles and almost kind of like.
But why wouldn't you see, Larry? Why wouldn't you see what Ronald? Look, I was not a proponent for Ronald Curry calling plays in the beginning of the season, but I'm at the point now where why wouldn't you just see what's it going to hurt? I mean, you're 5-5. Again, it's been such a roller coaster ride. I don't know what you could see in Pete Carmichael where you wouldn't say, you know what, we're going to give him a chance. We're going to give Ronald Curry a chance, and in one game here, pick a game. I don't care what game you do it. Where we're going to let him call the plays.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been opposed to that. Like, if they made a move, I'd have been like, okay. It's almost like, okay, I see them actually trying. Like, it's weird to say that. I know they're always trying, but the perception is, wow, okay, they see something is amiss. Let's shake something up. And so it just doesn't seem that that's the way this team goes. And, it's something that I'm sure is troubling to Saints fans, and while other teams are doing it, and look, it's it goes back to the overall. All right, I might as well just give my grade for coaching. I mean, it goes all the way back to that. I mean, look, I'm giving it a D just because the team has not lived up to expectations. Even if you you're 6-4. That to me would be expectations. 5-5, you should be better than that. So you're below average. So you get a D. I mean, that's to me D.
Look, that's very reasonable. Tyler says, my thing will click here. Go sign Ken Dorsey. Anyone would be an upgrade over Pete Carmichael. I can't disagree.
I wouldn't disagree, actually.
Can't disagree. I don't know why Pete freaks out when we get down and wants to send 4 receivers 80 yards deep. I mean, that was kind of my point of Dattitude earlier in the week in my Derry's Dime. I mean, the last play, or the last real play, not the last play with the big banner or whatever, but the last real play when Jameis threw an interception, you've got a first down at the Minnesota 46 with 1:48 left in the game. You need to score a touchdown. Why in the hell? Not only are they running a deep route, Larry, but Pete Carmichael decides he's going to run 3 deep routes together in the same spot. There were 3 guys within 4 to 5 yards of one another on that pass. And you can blame Jameis all you want, but someone called that play. Why that play's even in the playbook, I have no idea, where you have 3 guys go deep in the same spot. It makes 0 sense, and it was proof. To me, that play is proof that Pete Carmichael is not an NFL offensive coordinator.
Well, I always wonder what the actual first read is on the play. So that's part of – I have trouble a lot of times saying, okay, blame the play caller, I could see situationally if you're calling a certain play and and using different personnel, I could get on that. I wonder, because Jameis is Jameis. Like he could be like, oh, I'm taking a shot. You don't know what actually the first read was, what it was supposed to be. Now, you mentioned,
why would there ever be 3 receivers, though, in that spot? You could look at the whole field all you want, but the fact that there were 3 receivers within 5 yards of one another, 35 yards down the field, when all you need is a first down, or not even a first down, 6 yards, get started. That shows to me that's how that play was. No matter where Jameis, whatever his read was, wherever he threw the ball, the fact the play was designed to do that is insanely stupid by one man who designed the play.
Well, you could take the defense all deep and then leave someone short. And if it's like, hey, Jameis, throw it short or throw it out of bounds, like that could have been the play. Like, I mean,
maybe he should have thrown it out of bounds. I don't disagree with that part.
Than the pick, right? And it was stopped.
No doubt about that.
No kidding. But look, obviously you're not in an optimal situation anyway because Jameis is playing. Like that's, but who knows? It's not like we haven't seen Derek Carr make some sort of throw like that. And you're like, what are you doing, man? So it's something that is, boy, it's rough. Just add it all up.
You're being as nice as you possibly can. I get it. I don't have to be, and I rarely am. So that's who I am.
I really don't have to be, but
no, you don't have to be, but you are. That's who you are. Gabe DA is stuck on stupid. That's that's probably a little harsh. Brandon, preach. Play calling sucks. It sucks. So therefore, you gave him a D. I'm going to say it a little bit differently than you, but I come up with the same grade as you. I give the coaching a D as well. Look, I don't know why. I really don't know why, and I don't know why I'm going to say this. I am not 100% convinced that Dennis Allen can't be a coach in this league. I'm getting there. I'm not 100% convinced. Now, that being said, I'm 100% convinced that they need to make changes on their staff. 110%, even though that's not really possible in the grand scheme of things. They got to make changes on the staff. And like you said, he's hesitant to do so. Or maybe, and here, when you talk about like play calling, when there's things we don't know, there may be things behind the scene that we don't. Maybe Mickey Loomis isn't letting him. Maybe he wants to make a change and he can't. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. Maybe it's been discussed and Mickey or someone else behind the scenes is saying, nah, you know what? Pete's got a family here. We like Pete. He's been loyal to our team. He worked for Sean Payton. He didn't call any plays. He sat there with his clipboard and didn't do anything. But we're going to be nice to him, and we're not. So, I mean, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
Something like that might be the case to not get rid of him. But, look, it's something that and maybe they don't want to make a mid-season disruption change. But, I mean, we've seen the organization push to move on from assistant coaches. I mean, that happened going into 2017 when Sean Payton had to fire best buddy Joe Vitt and some other guys who he'd been close to for a long time, or guess what? Sean was going to be the next out the door. So I would be floored if that wasn't the case this offseason, where it's okay, you got to bring in fresh faces offensively.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
Or otherwise, guess what? You're going to be canned. So that's I would, but maybe they don't feel.
Wholeheartedly true.
Yeah, maybe you brought it up that all right. They're saying, well, what's the difference between Pete Carmichael and Ronald Curry calling plays? Let's just go with what we have, and then this offseason, let's do a large search with offensive coordinator and such. But here's the thing, and you were saying something about Dennis Allen. You're not convinced he can be a head coach. Like you think
I'm not 100% convinced he can't be a head coach.
It would be different if he had a better quarterback. Like they have coaches that are mediocre and have. Look, if you got
here's what concerns me about this team, and this is on the coach. I get that. It's not just the coaches. What bothers me is there seems to be a lack of chemistry on this team. And if you look at Sean Payton, the one thing that he was great, he was great at a few things. There were things that he wasn't so great at. One of the things that he's always great at was getting in his kind of players that fit in and making, like he was always cognizant about what made chemistry work. He's having a tougher time with that in Denver because I think that Russell Wilson's frankly a loon ball. And when you don't have a quarterback, this is what you got when he went there knowing that I got Russell Wilson. It's hard to change everything when you got a quarterback that doesn't necessarily work. Everything starts there. But he was great at forming chemistry, and I don't think that Dennis Allen has found a way to do that yet. This team has got to find some chemistry going down the stretch. They're the kind of team where I think other than Detroit, I don't think we've talked about this. I don't think there's a game on the schedule where I don't think the Saints not only could win, but should win going in. They won't. They're not going to win 6 out of 7 games. We know that. I mean, let's be realistic. But they could and should, but they won't. And I think part of it is because they can't get it all together.
Well, I don't know what type of player is a Dennis Allen type player. Like, I don't have a definition. I mean,
I agree.
Obviously he absorbed Sean Payton players. I mean, and obviously that worked for them, but Sean Payton is a different mentality guy as a Dennis Allen. And so, I think that's
who's the best player? Who's the best player on this team right now that wasn't here when Sean Payton was here?
Oh my gosh.
Tough call, isn't it? I mean, think of it like that. Who's the best Dennis Allen player? I don't know the answer. I really don't.
I don't know the answer.
Granderson was here already, right?
Granderson was here already.
I mean,
you're not.
I don't even know how to answer that.
I mean, let's just go through a couple of them. I guess what?
Olave wasn't here, right?
Olave wasn't.
I guess it's Olave, but he's already shown that he's a roller coaster. He's all over the place. So I don't know how to answer that. I mean, the question just popped into my head. But you think of that. Is
it Derek Carr?
I mean, Brisset. I mean, maybe it is Brisset. I don't know. I mean, but when you start talking about that and you can't come up with any player that's been really good, that's a Dennis Allen player. I mean, again, Olave, I think, is underachieving. Brisset, I think
the fact we can't even say Derek Carr is a problem.
JD says it's Pete Carmichael. His playbook and offense is ridiculous. It doesn't go with the quarterback Derek Carr. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, you can blame Derek Carr for a lot of things, but then that's Derek Carr's fault, right? Why are you just coming here for the money? You got $40 million. You weren't going to get $40 million elsewhere. Why would you come to New Orleans if you're Derek Carr?
Oh, well, he saw it as a chance to maybe win. Like that was the best.
You could have gone to the Jets before they signed Aaron Rodgers. They wanted Derek Carr. Well, I don't know if they wanted, but he certainly could have gone to the Jets. They were going to sign him.
Oh, they were interested. There's no doubt. But he probably saw the Saints as a better win now opportunity. I mean,
why?
Frankly, I would have if I were him.
Derek Carr with the Jets would easily be a 6-win team right now.
Oh, they could win more games with Trevor Siemian. He should be playing. I don't know. I'm serious. Like he should be playing. Zach Wilson should never play. Trevor Siemian would have won them a couple more games. I promise.
I give this coaching staff a D. We're going to finish with our overall grade for the team. We usually do our prediction to finish the game. There is no game, obviously, this week. You see the week 12 numbers on the screen. I think it's goes to show you how poor the Saints have been playing. The fact that they're pick 'em in Atlanta. This team has no business being pick 'em in Atlanta. They're incredibly better than Atlanta, but they're not playing that way. So anyway, we're going to give our final grades on the team. I do want to talk about some games around our 3 best games around the NFL. I'm going to do it quickly because I know we've already gone over the time. Real quick, I didn't put it on the screen. I would have had I known about Deshaun Watson. I think the Browns are a huge value now at -2.5. I don't think you've done your picks yet because it's early week. Speaking of the Browns, I got to give you props. I'm all over the place. Got to give you props. You were the only one in the Athletic. You do your picks every week. There are like 10 or 12 of you. Yeah. And you were the only one to pick the Browns. You did it here in the show as well. The only one to pick the Browns to win outright, not just cover. I said they would cover. And I said I don't have the stones, I guess, to pick them outright against the Ravens. It wouldn't surprise me. You actually had the stones. You said the Browns would beat the Ravens. You were right.
I mean, I got the Saints wrong, so well. But I did go lone wolf there. I will say I have turned in my picks. They're not public yet.
Okay.
But we were given the opportunity to change our pick, and I did change my pick. I had the Browns. I'm picking the Steelers.
You're picking the Steelers now.
Yeah, I'm a little. Look, I see the numbers with PJ Walker. Oh my gosh, he's horrendous. Like I can't. And Pickett's not much better than Deshaun Watson has been all year, but Pickett at least takes care of the football. I think there's going to be a letdown. And the Steelers, I feel like they're playing okay. I think both teams are kind of fraudulent, but I'm going begrudgingly. I'm picking the Steelers.
I couldn't disagree with you and JD more. I think this changes everything for the Browns. I think this makes the Browns a much better team. Let's face it. When a team plays poorly on offense and has distractions, it affects every facet of your team. The Browns, to me, have a legitimate number 1 in the league kind of defense. And I think that they play much better. I think they take it personally now. PJ Walker is not as good as Jacoby Brissett, but I think he's in that ballpark. And I think he's stabilizing.
He's not in the ballpark, man. I'm sorry. All right.
Well, we'll find out. I love the Browns this week. I'm actually going to move. That was not my best bets. In fact, we recorded a segment with Uncle Big Nick, which is coming on the pod after this. This changes my opinion of the Browns completely, and that's now going to be in my best bets. It's not in today's show, but it will be in my public my story and tomorrow on bet.nola.com. All right, real quickly, we're going to give like 45 seconds to each game here. Bengals at Ravens, Thursday night game. This is a tough one to call. I have the Bengals in a teaser, which means they get 10 in a teaser. I paired them with the Bills that we see on here, so I'm kind of doing 2 with 1 stone. But, man, this could go either way. What do you have here, Bengals and Ravens?
It definitely could go either way. I am going with the Bengals. But I'm even more hesitant because I know the Bengals, both defensive ends, Trey Hendrickson and St. Hubbard, are banged up. And so that's an issue.
Big time.
So yeah, I think that's scaring me a bit. But I'm rolling the dice here. I'm going in Joe Burrow. I trust, and let's go. Even though the Ravens defense is a little banged up too in the secondary. I know Humphrey got hurt last week, but I don't know his status and such. But I'm kind of rolling the dice here and basically going in Joe Burrow. I trust with the Bengals straight up.
I am not going to be wishy-washy here. I do think the Bengals compete. I do think they keep it close. I like them to cover. I think it's a field goal kind of game. But I think the Ravens win. I think the Ravens at home after last week. I might have been more inclined to pick the Bengals had the Ravens won last week. But when you lose a game like that, a good team to me takes that personally. And I think you see a really good Ravens effort. And Trey Hendrickson being out does change my opinion a little bit. Again, I like the Ravens to win, but I like the Bengals to cover. All right, Jets and Bills. Look, I think this is an interesting game. Because the Jets defense, you want to talk about being on an island. They really have been on an island. We got a comment. CJ, come on. I said I was going to be nice to my listeners, so I am not going to go full bore here, but you cray. You think Zach Wilson and Derek Carr are close talent-wise? It's not close. It's really not close. Derek Carr is much better than Zach Wilson. And this Jets team, I think they're about to go on a schneid.
The Jets wish they had Derek Carr.
Right. Exactly. There's no question about it. And the Bills, to me, that 7 is a lot, especially the way that they've been playing. I do think they get a little juice out of making a change at OC. It's not because of Joe Brady. I just think when teams make changes like this, they do see a little juice. They're about to go on a ridiculously crazy tough schedule, are the Buffalo Bills. This is an absolute must win for the Bills. So this is the last time that I back them if they can't win this one. I think they win. I do think they cover. But the Jets, they're about to go on a schneid.
Yeah, I agree. This is a must win because of that schedule, and they're at a bit of a crossroads. There's no doubt about it. I'm going Bills and to cover and straight up, and I would say there's one reason. His name is Zach Wilson. They can't move the ball. I don't care. The Bills could do a couple quick strikes. They might win 14-6, then they cover. But I don't trust the Jets offense at all, period. I just said it. Trevor Siemian, I would start him now. I don't get it.
8 offensive touchdowns all year long. That is insanely poor. That is so bad. And then the marquee matchup, one of the marquee matchups of the season, is on Monday Night Football. It's about time there's a good Monday Night Football game. It's been a while. I mean, those guys, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, have not had a good run here with the games they've had to play. A call. Eagles at Chiefs in a Super Bowl rematch. This one is being played in Kansas City. The Chiefs are a 2.5-point favorite. We've seen this at 3. It's dropped down. The Sharps have moved it down to 2.5. I don't know if it'll stay there or not. Interesting line.
I picked the Eagles to win the Super Bowl last year against the Chiefs. I'm picking them again. I think the Eagles are starting to roll, and I think that defensively they could shut down a Chiefs offense that has not been as good, and Patrick Mahomes has not been as good as he's been in previous years. Obviously, they're good enough. There's a reason why right now the Chiefs are co-favorites with the 49ers to win the Super Bowl. And the Eagles are like scantly behind both of them. But still, I just feel like that the Eagles are starting to roll. Jalen Hurts is starting to roll. They're not going to be intimidated by any of that crowd stuff. It's something that in Jalen Hurts, I'm going to trust. So give me the Eagles straight up.
And Patrick Mahomes, I trust. Something's not right with Jalen Hurts. I'm not sure what it is. And I know he's a little dinged up. He's questionable on the injury report. We all know he's going to play. I don't think he's questionable to the point he's not going to play. But you know what else is going to rear its head here? It's kind of reared its head throughout the season and at weird times. I think the fact that the Eagles are missing both of their coordinators who are now in Indianapolis and Arizona and respective head coaching, especially Shane Steichen. I think they really miss Shane Steichen. And I think it kind of shows up here. Maybe that's what's different about Jalen Hurts. I don't know. But this is an interesting game. Wouldn't surprise me if the Eagles won. I just don't think they will. I think that Patrick Mahomes is always better against really good teams. He kind of rises up to the level of the competition. And who knows? Maybe Swifty will be there. It'll help Kelsey. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, DeAndre Swift will be there. Does that count?
Not that Swifty. maybe he should take a picture with Kelsey.
I think Jason is going to take a picture with Taylor, and Travis is going to get jealous.
Oh, your girl. That would be quite interesting. All right, before we go off the show, and shocker, Larry and I disagree on an NFL pick. Never happens. Happened today. All right, final grade for the New Orleans Saints as they go into the bye week. Overall team grade. We see their real grade is their record, 5-5. What do you give this Saints team as a grade?
D+. Their record should be better. Means, in my opinion, they're below average of what I thought. So D+.
Interestingly, I didn't know what grade I was going to give them. I was just going to kind of go on the fly. But when you said D+, it was like bells rang. That's the grade. That's a perfect grade for this team. I probably, if they would have gone into this week with a victory, I probably would have gave them a C+. I still wouldn't have gave them a great grade. But with this schedule, this team ought to be 7-3 easily. It's not even so much they lost last week. You could see going to Minnesota and losing. You can excuse them. But the way they played in Minnesota with absolutely no heart, no focus, and no game plan for the first half of that game last week is unacceptable. And I think it's a microcosm of the entire season. So I'm with you. Give them a D+. I don't think that's a bad one at all.
Yeah,
all right, next week.
If they beat Minnesota, I probably would have gone C+. Like, I'd have been like, okay, I would have expected this record, but this is not what I expected. And even in wins, sometimes they're like, ugh, what? So no, D+.
I'm going to ask you here on the air. I don't think we've talked about it. Next week is Thanksgiving. Can you do Wednesday again next week? See, I put you on the spot.
Yes.
On the spot. All right. Well,
I actually got to work. I got to work Thursday.
All right. Ooh, yuck. Wednesday it is. We will be back live next Wednesday. We're cramming 5 days of work at bet.nola.com into 3 next week. So that's where we'll be. And next week we'll be previewing Saints and Falcons. They will be back from their bye week. We don't get it. Georgia says this is perfect. Whatever.
Pretty much.
That's like the best comment I think we might have had out. Whatever.
Pretty much.
That's what it is.
D+ grade, whatever. That's what you look at him as. Whatever.
Dustin says he loves the show. We appreciate Dustin. We thank you for joining. I give our listeners some grief, but you guys are great, and you gals are great. We've had listeners this season from all over the place. And look, when we're done here, I give my picks. We also pushed Friday and Thursday all into Wednesday today. I've got some stuff going on as Larry does as well. So when I'm done with this show, when I click end stream here in just a moment, I'm going to go record my monologue. I will put Larry's portion on the Dattitude podcast. I will put Uncle Big Nick's our best bets of the week on the Dattitude podcast. One big Dattitude podcast, episode 190. You get it wherever you get your podcast. Larry, have a wonderful weekend. Don't work too hard, my friend.
I'll try not to. At least I'll be. I can eat and work at the same time. But yeah, I got to worry about the first 2 games on Thanksgiving Day. But that's okay.
All right. Well, we'll be watching them, so we'll kind of be kindred spirits.
At least the Lions and Cowboys are good. Like, I expect to see some cool stuff on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, it used to be a lot of Lions come on early and you fall asleep at halftime and get ready for the real games. But now the Lions are good. You actually have to watch them now.
Right.
All right. Well, we'll see you next week. We will see you all next week. Again, wherever you find your podcast, Dattitude, I will be back. We are taking Monday off as a show. So the next Dattitude period is next Wednesday on November the 22nd. We'll see you then. Everyone have a great weekend of football. Enjoy the bye week. The Saints can't lose. We'll talk to you next weekend. Peace and love, my friends. Whoops, wrong thing. I meant to press this.